Okay, so next to follow up, we've got the greater trochanter of the femur, and in the femur is a large, irregular, quadrilateral eminence of the part of the skeletal system. It is directed lateral and medially, and slightly posterior, right? The medial and lateral condyles of the femur of left knee joint from behind, showing the interior ligaments. The medial condyle is one of the two projections of the lateral extremity of the femur, and the other being the lateral condyle. The medial condyle is larger than the lateral, the outer one condyle, and due to more weight bearing caused by the center mass being medial to the knee. The lateral condyle is one of the two projections of the lower extremity of the femur, and the other one is the medial, right? The front to back and transverse diameters. Lateral is just broader, it's larger. The hamstrings, which we call the hammies, are among the muscles responsible for running fast. They're involved in both knees flexion and hip extension. Two important actions is the running and the running motion, and the hammies are key decelerators. So not just making your impulse forward, but stopping. Once you're running, you have to stop the motion, because what happens when you just keep going and you're trying to stop, you kind of just fall over. The biceps femoris is the long head is a part of the hamstring muscle group that occupies the posterior section of the thigh. The hamstring muscles may be considered extensions of the thigh. The biceps femoris muscle is important for knee flexion, internal and external rotation, and hip extension. The semitendinous is a muscle that one of the three hamstrings, one of the hammies, is located in the back of the thigh, and to the other two are semimembranous and the muscle of the biceps femoris. Semitendinous muscles lies between the other two. These three muscles work collectively to flex the knee and extend the hip. The semimembranous is a muscle that is attached to the pelvis and tibia via tendons. The muscle has several functions, including enabling the leg to flex and rotate, and serving as a thigh extensor. The other two muscles that make up the hamstring are semitendinous and the biceps femoris muscles. And last but not least, we have the popliteal fossa, and it's a diamond sort of shaped area found in the posterior side of the knee, and its main path is which structures the move from the thigh to the leg. In the anatomical area such as this, it is important to look at the borders, contents, and any other clinical relevance. Now, why are all these muscles that we just talked about, the insertion, the name, the nerve that gives them power, the arterial supply? Well, the name is important because a lot of these muscles talk to you about a region of the body, or in the name they'll tell you the insertion point or anything that's important for them, right? Same thing with the arterial supply will be important due to the fact that most of these big muscles, they have their own arterial supply. Especially like the gluteal area is huge, so you need several nerves, and you need several arterial to maintain such a large, vast muscle. Now, this is important for movement, obviously, but mostly for posture, and then your non-activities, duties. So all of these muscles, some of them were about sitting, some of them were to extend. So you never think about like the little things you do with the muscles, but some of these do. To extend the knee is not just to kick a ball, or you can also walk, or you can you need it to extend so you can get up when you're sitting in a chair. So all these functions for the lower extremities is very complicated to look at, because not just one muscle does one function and that's it, but most of these muscles share a function. They do everything together, And that's why when you get injured from one muscle, you tend to feel it everywhere else. Not just because it's harder to walk, but it's because the other two muscles are straining now to pick up the slack that the other one did. I myself, I'm a soccer player, and I've had several of these injuries. I had actually a gluteal injury before in which I got kicked very, very roughly with the cleat, very close to my spine. But I got a very large strain that did like I barely could sit, I could barely flex like anything, I could barely do anything. Um, I've also gotten hurt on my abductors, and that didn't let me kick the ball. I couldn't run, I could barely walk, and I have a chronic ankle injury. That's mostly on my tendons, but most of these muscles end on tendon at the ankle, and it's such a fragile area, and it has so much free room for fluid to just contain there, and then you're just chronically swollen. That's my problem. So I constantly get hurt, and one thing that's main key for me is the fact that you never know that it's happening, but at the moment that you get first hurt, like at the first moment, you need to stop. And mostly because of muscle strains, and because if you keep going, the muscle fibers are just gonna keep ripping, and then you're just gonna make your injury worse. That's kind of the way I saw all of this information today, thinking about where muscles attach and where they start and when they don't, where they end. Um, Obviously, you want to mess with your nerves, but in your muscles for your injuries, that's the way I was thinking about everything. Like, oh, this muscle, the hemis. What happens when oh man, I've injured that before. What am I gonna do now? Obviously, your rise, your compressions, and that's it, guys. Thank you for listening. I know a little dull of a video, but thank you so much.